Let's talk about hair. It's not your average conversation. Hello and welcome to Main Talk, Conversations About Hair. I'm Deshawn Bullard, board certified licensed cosmetologist, certified trichologist, and hair loss specialist, owner of NeuroTrust Hair Products, NeuroTrust Salon and Hair Clinic, all that. If y'all want to find out more about me, listen to our previous episodes. We are here every time you turn on your social media cameras. We're here talking about hair, one of the big elephants in the room in our community. I'm Deshawn Bullard. I am here with my co-host, Ashley. Ashley, can I say this before you introduce yourself? I am loving, thank you as the producer extraordinaire. Thank you for pushing for years, not just for a year, but for years. You guys just don't understand. For us to have this conversation, to take the conversation from the phone line to the main line, which is to all of the listeners, those who are experiencing the same thing every day as it relates to hair. So I just want to say thank you because I am enjoying the conversation. It's healing, it's revealing, and I think it's going to change some lives. So thank you for being my co-host this season on Main Talk. Hey, Ashley.
Amen. Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Ashley Shantae, as Deshawn said. Yeah, on this show, I give the customer perspective. I give the other side of the coin, as Deshawn is the professional. We've been doing this for years. For y'all, if this is your first time joining, like Deshawn said, after you listen to this episode, go back and listen to our other episodes to just know a little bit more about us and our background. But yeah, I give the customer perspective into all things hair, the psychology of it, why we do what we do, and all of that, which we talked a lot about that in the previous episode.
Right, the difference between a beauty shop and a salon, because, I kind of hate that, as we dive into our topic. I'm going to the shop. I always say, I don't own a shop. I own a salon, and there is a difference.
Interesting. Yeah, that's something I never would have thought about from the customer perspective. But yeah, I've been enjoying these conversations, and guys, a lot of really all of this conversation really has been birthed out of real life situations and conversations that Deshawn and I have all the time. And as you said, Deshawn, the black hair business is a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Yes.
When we actually were really pioneers when we decided to do this show 10 years ago, before like people were really podcasting like that. We did it on, I guess what you would call back then, talk radio on WAOK.
Yeah,
and Atlanta. I remember in Atlanta, and I remember going to convince the program director at the time, to let you have a show. And her first, thing was like, but
what
hair, how much can you talk about? I mean, like, she was like, is she going to give like hairstyles and hair tips? And I was like, just trust me, there's a lot to talk about. And I think after y'all were like a couple episodes in or something like that, she came and she was like, wow. She's just like really, really shocked. But I say that to say that there's a reason why it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And ultimately because a lot of the money is made off of our self-hate. We talked about that in the last episode. So I do encourage y'all to go back and listen to that. But on to this episode, as a continuation, we're going to talk about our stylists have us by the edges and why.
Yes.
Why do they
have you by the edges? Right.
Listen.
I know all of your stylists have had you by your edges.
Oh, they have had me by the edges, but guess what, baby? I've been delivered.
Oh,
delivered.
You've been healed. You've been set free.
I've been set free.
You've been baptized.
I have. And you know what? I actually had a very beautiful experience with my hair for the first time in a long time. A couple of, or actually just very recently in the last week. Since I'm, I have locks now, what I've really been doing is like going to get my hair retwisted and going to the professional every time. But this time I was just like, oh, I just feel like every time I turn around, I'm going to like get retwisted or whatever. And I was like, I'm going to try it myself this time. I'm going to take the time. It took me 2.5 business days. I like washed my own hair. What do you call it? Detoxed it with the like apple cider vinegar, as it, you do with people that have locks. I'm probably familiar with this. Washed it, and then I got one of those mirrors that you can see all angles of it, whatever. And I retwisted my hair, but it there is like a special connection. I know a lot of people that have locks say this, but like when you have locks, that there's like a connection with your hair that you feel like you have. So anyway, that's the first time I've done my own hair in a very long time, and I ain't have to deal with nobody.
No, you don't have to.
So
And you know what? And I think every person should have that relationship with their hair. Every person should get in touch with their hair. It's who they are, right? It's an extension of their health. It's what they were born with. And I think that we all should have that experience. But
and I'm still gonna go to the salon,
of course,
all right, every other
of course,
month, and but
of
it's
course.
it's just not necessary for me to be every
Exa-
5 minutes the way I
Exactly.
used to
And,
go.
and and I like that you came to that revelation. Of course, my side of the coin is not that people have to come in all the time. My side of the coin is making sure I'm available for those who need it. Because we have some who just, like in the last episode when well, maybe a couple episodes back, and the video clip that we watched, I think the stylist was like, her clients who are over 50, they think differently about their hair versus those from a younger generation, right?
Oh,
So
for
those
sure.
50, some of those have been in the salon since they were young, and they just cannot do their hair. I have clients who say, like, I can't do my own hair at home. But the younger generation have the wherewithal, have the time, right?
Yeah,
To
and
do
there's a
their hair
lot
at
of
home.
tools.
Time is
There's
different.
a lot of tools that we have out there now to know how to do something that we just didn't have in the 90s or early
Exactly.
2000s. You could go to,
Correct.
I know you hate this, but YouTube University, even just to get somewhat of an idea of how to do a style or somewhat. But yeah, it just actually brought me back to high school when I was doing my hair. I like had a hair memory while I was like retwisting my hair. I was like, wow, I'm like doing my own hair. And I was like, I remember back in the day, remember Hot Six Oil?
Yes, I remember Hot Six. I remember Hot Six. I do remember.
I had thought about that like 20 years, but I was like, man, remember Hot Six Oil. So anyway, but that brings us to the topic of our stylists have us by the edges. And I know salon, Deshaun, you've been saying a lot of the bad behavior that we are dealing with our stylists. A lot of that is on us because we keep going back, right?
Correct,
And if
correct.
if they don't have anybody to service, then they out of business.
They'll get it together. Yeah.
And I don't disagree with that. I certainly do not. But I do think it's much easier said than done because it has to be a collective. For example, when we go back to thinking about the civil rights movement and the bus boycott, those people had discipline and they all said, okay, we gonna boycott. They had numbers. I do feel like in today's society, and a lot of it really isn't our full fault, as I have talked about white supremacy and in the position that plays into how we feel about our hair, why we so desperate it got to be fried, dyed, laid to the side, and we're so ashamed of it. But I feel like for a lot of people, if I don't go to a certain stylist and say I ain't gonna deal with that certain behavior, there are a lot of other people that still will, because they do have that desperation. They feel desperate. And you put it in a very good way. This is actually over the phone conversation. You said a lot of clients are in like an abusive relationship with their stylist, like a man, like that everybody is had at some point in their life, maybe the early 20s or something like that, where you had, hopefully y'all been delivered from that now.
Exactly.
But where there's this man or woman or whatever that that you want, that don't really want you, and you doing all these things and climbing through hoops and jumping through hoops. That's what the relationship does feel like with stylists these days. They got all these rules. You can, if you late, they chopping you off, but if they late, you just somebody waiting, it's just all of that. And so I want to give a couple of scenarios, and I want to hear from the hair messiah herself on what she would do in these situations. What's your advice?
Okay. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. So scenario one, I've grown accustomed to a certain hairstyle. This stylist does it perfectly. It fits my face. I feel I look great after she does my hair. However, it is a stressful booking. It's a stressful process booking an appointment with her. I feel I have to chase her down. She only opens her calendar for booking once a month. Oh my God, I hate that. We need to talk about that. That's like a new trend that I absolutely hate. She only opens her calendar for booking once a month. And she is constantly adding to a long list of already strict rules for her clients. It's stressful beforehand, but I look great afterwards. What choice do I really have if she makes my hair look good? There are no other stylists in my area that does my hair as well as she does.
Okay, so listen. So the answer is that is not true. Number one, that there's no stylist in the area that does your hair as good as she does. It's just that you have not really sought out and really looked to find someone. And then, the other thing, Ashley, is again, this is how the abuse starts, right? What are we sacrificing? That's what abuse starts with. What am I sacrificing? If we think about a relationship with a man, sometimes a woman may feel like I'm going to stay in because I'm going to sacrifice the way I live, right? If I'm going to allow him to continue to be abusive to me because I'll sacrifice the way I live if I leave, right? So this falls into the same category. What are you sacrificing? If she gives you a 95, can you take a 90? If she gives you a 90, can you take an 85? It takes is 21 days to develop a habit, right? And so if you take the time, you have to hit her in the pocket. Again, to me, this is a no-brainer. You have to hit her in the pocket. You have to leave. You have to find somewhere else. What are you sacrificing?
That's the key word. The sacrifice.
What are you sacrificing?
Yeah.
So if you feel like you're not sacrificing a lot, if you feel like you can grit and bear it so you can walk out with the 100% style, because I can tell you this, I am an excellent stylist, right? I say I have clients looking for me in the daylight with a flashlight. I'm only in the salon now only twice a month, right? And so I have clients who will find me, and say, how long are you still, servicing customers with hair? Because I'm that type of stylist. But I have had customers who have been tired of their last stylist and say, you know what, I heard that you like the hair messiah, like you're the one. And when they come in, they bring a picture. You're going to bring me this picture, you're going to bring me this picture and you're going to lay out, literally, this is a true story. You come into my establishment, you have 15 pictures of how this person did your hair. And so can you look at it and it's going to be exactly like that? But to ease her confidence, to ease her feeling, I say this, I'm going to let you know up front that it's not going to look like how she did it. Point blank. It is going to look great. I am going to do it the way that I do it because every person has their own thumbprint. Every person has their own signature. Now I can, mimic your signature, right? But it's still not your signature. And so I tell them up front, I'm going to allow you to relax. If you just allow me to be me, I promise you, I've seen the pictures and I'm going to do it as close as possible to the way that she did it. But I can guarantee you that it's not going to look identical. I think it is managing the expectations up front. And so for a client, you have to manage your own expectations. That if you go somewhere, allow a person to give them, because then your expectation may be more accepting. You may look at it and be like, well, dang, I like the way she did this better. But what happens is if we go into a salon to a stylist who is not as confident as me, and again, this confidence was only built over time because clients made me this way, right? I didn't make myself this way. Clients made me who I am, made me feel confident in that. So now I can say that. But if I'm a stylist who is not as confident, right? And that clients have just beat me down, then I get nervous because you come in with these 15 pictures and now my hand is shaking. I'm trying to do, I'm not going to get it right. You're not going to like it. It's not going to be good because the stylist is not as confident. So my solution is you can find someone who can do it, but you have to allow them to give their signature mark. If you've seen their photos on Instagram, if you've seen their photos on their website or their Facebook page and you like it, go in with the expectation that you're going to allow them to create a new signature kind of still in the same vein. And trust me, it will turn out right. The difference is, Ashley, is that we go in and we may find a stylist and we actually intimidate. The stylist, like, never let them see you sweat, right? But they're actually intimidated by someone who comes in with 15 pictures and have a strong persona themselves. Like, she's been doing my hair for 30 years. I can't get it right. No, breathe and allow somebody else to put their signature on it. And I think it'll be okay. And allow them to and get your mindset that maybe on the first visit, let me say this, it may not be a 90, it may be an 85 or maybe even an 80, because the person has to get used to styling your hair as well.
Getting to know your hair, getting
Getting
familiar
to
with what
know
you
your hair.
like.
So
Yeah.
exactly. So if understanding all of that, if she gives you at least a passing grade on the first time, at least give her 3 strikes and you're out, right? I would say give them 3 strikes and then, you know, start looking for someone else.
You said some very key things, because I could relate very much to this scenario, because I used to be in positions like this, you know, Deshawn. And I feel like the key word that you said is sacrifice. Anything good and worth it takes some type of sacrifice, right? And so in a real life situation, like for me, when I had this experience, I was going to I was going to this stylist, and she was basically doing hair when she was not on tour, right? And she became what's the word I'm trying to think of? She just became like kind of just, she was in a sorrow space because she really wanted to be on tour. She could do hair and she could do it well, but she really wanted to be on tour. And so she would spend her time over my head talking about, I hope I'm back on tour soon, and I hope I'm back on tour. And then anyway, she did end up going on tour. So actually, I was forced to find another stylist because she did end up going on tour, and I had to find somebody else. And at first, when she did, I was like, oh my gosh, you know, my hair was kind of like, I was like a cartoon character in the way that, like, oh, the cartoon is going to change. My hair has been the same way for like, what's going to happen? Panic, you know. And I was able to find another stylist just like that. And guess what? To my surprise, it was a much better experience. I thought that, oh, it can be. And not only that, did I discover I wasn't even being honest with myself while I was going to that girl. My hair was not growing. I had been going to her for, I think, at least 2 years, getting the same style. And then when I went to this other lady, I had only been going to this lady for like 3 months, and my hair had grown so long. And I was like, oh my God, all that complaining she was doing on my hair, I think it really had an effect. It wasn't growing.
You were stressed
And
out. Yeah,
I was stressed. And then not even realizing it probably. And yeah, so I just say to this scenario, there is always better. There is always better. And I used to be a person that think that there literally is always better. And for the sake of hairless, I don't want y'all to go thinking like, oh, I need to leave my husband and there's always better like that. We're talking about for the sake of like service and stuff. There is always better. In my second point, I think also too, having been in this situation before, you may think like, oh, I'm just taking a little bit of abuse up front, but the payoff is worth it. It's not, because if you're accepting it in that area of your life, what other areas of your life are you doing that in?
You are, because that's who you are. You know, it just shows up in this in this scenario the same.
Yeah, I agree. So scenario 2, I like my stylist. She does my hair well, but I find myself burdened when I leave her shop. I know you hate this word, shop. Well, in this case, I guess it is a shop, right? When I leave her shop, she is having so many problems in her personal life. Every appointment feels like a therapy session. Is there a nice way to deflect from hearing about her problems?
Yeah, oh, this is so good, because yes. I think that if we take our rightful position, Ashley, to understand that, again, I said it on a previous episode, by definition, the person who pays is the boss, right? So if you're in corporate America and you get a paycheck from somebody, they're the boss. Sometimes you could be your own boss, so you're getting your own paycheck. Take the position as a boss, right? You are the one who would have to give her end of year review. You are the one who would determine if she gets a raise or not. So if she decides to go up on her prices, you would determine whether you continue to stay with her and pay the higher price or move on. If you're satisfied with everything she's doing, you'll be like, I don't care how much she charged. I think I heard you say that before about one of your stylists. I don't care how much she charged. I'm with her. But if you're not satisfied, take the position as a boss. And the nice way to do it is not send her a text message. The nice way to do it is not confront her at the appointment. The best thing to do is to literally kind of like a survey. Send a don't go online and just put a bold-faced review, because that's going to block her out. You know, I'm sure we'll talk about that with the reviews, but send her a nice letter, send her a nice card and say, you know, thinking of you. You know, I understand you may be going through some hard times. You know, I'm praying for you. I'm wishing for the best. You know, however, I would like to let you know that I love the way you do my hair. However, I would ask that you change the conversation because it burdens me. Right? Now, if she responds in a way that is out the box, then you already know. And I know
I promise you 9 times out of 10, I love my people. God knows there is nobody in this world that I love more than Black women, because I have one, right? That ain't gonna go well. I don't care if you put a bow on the car. I don't care if you send an edible arrangement.
Okay, but so this is one of the things. So this is one of the things that I tell. Then do this. Then ask her. Say, do you happen to send out surveys? You know, for
No.
your clients? Ask them. If she says no, then recommend that she sends out a survey. Say, I think that you should send out a survey. I'm just going to recommend that you send out a survey. Not only myself, I have some things that I would like to say. I don't want you to be offended. I would like to give you some positive feedback as well as some, some other feedback, but I think it will help you if you send out a survey. The truth of the matter is, clients really have an impact on their stylist, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and vice versa. I have customers that sit in my chair, they listen to me for business advice. You know, they come in with a pen and paper, ready to hear what I got to say, and dumping off to me like, what should I do? And then on the other end, they say some things to me that make me take some things into consideration. Like, you know what? I love this place so much. You should do this, or you should add this, or you should do this, and so I take that to heart. So I think that if we look at it that if we just ask them to start doing a survey because you would like to recommend some more clients. But I think before we do that, if you send out a survey, it may help you. Because remember, the only way we grow is by getting constructive criticism.
That's what I was going to say. Someone that is truly interested in growing their business and evolving, even if it doesn't feel good at the moment, they're going to take that advice. They should.
But I think it's who gives the advice, right? So you can give me advice because I know your intention of the advice, right? Some Joe Blow off the street, if you're a client who's only been to me one time and you want to give me advice, I may be offended, right? Because I don't know what your motive is. But if you have been with a stylist for quite some time, I think she will understand that the motive is not unpure, you know what I'm saying? That the motive is not pure, should I say. And so I think, look at it that way. But if you've only been there like 2 or 3 times, I mean, maybe don't try it. Go a little bit more, because it can feel like you coming for me, right? Anybody.
Or you can stop going. I had this, that could be, that's finite.
Or send her email and say, although I love my appointments,
I wasn't, and you know what? I wasn't that invested. I mean, she did my hair all right, but it wasn't. Maybe if my hair was fire, I could probably listen a little bit more. But I've definitely had this situation before where the conversation that they were talking about or whatever just kind of brought me down. I didn't feel uplifted. One thing I want to add, and I just had this awakening actually recently. And I probably get some flack for this. I don't know how y'all feel about that out there. I first thing, let's make it clear. I will never come for Black women in a negative way. It's always coming from a place of love. But it's no secret that we need to tune up our love and our service. Like the way we give service has just become very stankin' as a whole. I'm not saying everybody, but Jenna, it's just been very stankin' and leaves people feeling in a very bad way. What has helped me actually choose better with my hairstylist actually is when I started going to more having good experiences in other arenas. Like we talked about this. I have plantar fasciitis in my foot. And I've been going to get like reflexology treatments or whatever. And it's such a beautiful like experience, the aroma. I'm a very sensual person. So, you know, just literally with the senses. And I leave, I feel good. But when I compared kind of my experiences to getting my hair done, not, and don't take this so literal. I'm not saying my hairstylist need to give me a massage, y'all, but the feeling of feeling good,
Yeah.
that I actually found the lady that does retwist my locks when I go, she gives kind of a similar experience. The
But she
atmosphere
should.
feels like
What?
that. Yeah.
But again, like we said, expectation, right? I think in our community, our expectations have been lower as it relates to the Black salon industry. We don't find that in non-ethnic salons,
And it's exposure. That's what
It
I
is.
guess that's the point I'm trying to make. Being exposed to others sometimes will make people choose better,
Exactly.
right?
I think communication again. I
Mhm.
think communication, if you know, that's the reason why we're having this season talking all things salons, is that the goal is to heal, to make better choices, and to understand that you do have the power. At the end of the day, Ashley, it's all about understanding that you have the power to change, you know, the power to go somewhere else, the power to have better in
And be
all areas of
willing.
our life.
If you have that conversation with your stylist, be willing to walk away. Like, don't
Exactly.
have those kind of conversations and then be like, oh, well, I'm just gonna stay, because then you look crazy. Because I've had that experience actually with the stylist before. Every time I would show up, and this was at a time, you know me, Deshawn, this was at a time where I was working in very heavy production. I was working like 12-hour days on sets. So my time was extremely valuable on the weekends. And on Saturday, that would be when I would go get my hair braided or rebraided or whatever. When I would get there, she would already have somebody in the chair. And I would go through so many hoops to get there on time and doing this, doing all these things in my life, you know, to get there on time. I get there on time and then I gotta wait there an extra half hour.
But
And I finally said something to her after she did it twice. And it wasn't every single time, it wasn't consistent, but here and there. But I finally said something to her, and I did it through text. Maybe you'll say that's probably the way I shouldn't have done it, but I did it through text, and I just said, "Hey, so and so, I just love the way you do my hair. It's, you know, it's great. You know, my hair is growing, all that. But the only thing, you know, my time is really limited. I just really, can you set my appointments maybe a little later, a little whatever? I just need to come when I can get right in the chair for the second time." You know, she didn't respond.
well,
So neither
because you
did
know
I.
what? So,
And then
you
I
know, me and
stopped.
you have had this conversation. So, a Saturday is a peak time. So, that's like at a restaurant. Again, it's the expectations
That's
of
not my
the
fault.
stylist. If it's a peak time, then, you know, it is a peak time. Unfortunately, each client wants their own time. So, I can't say now. I'm this on a Saturday. I am going to just let you know it is almost impossible to say that when you walk into a salon on a Saturday that you're just going to jump in the chair. But what can happen is that you can move in to maybe a shampoo, you know, going on ahead and things.
Progression. Something is happening. You're in progress. That's not what was happening. And this
Okay.
was not a salon full of 20, you know, like how you got a big clinic with all these different people. This
Yeah.
was one stylist doing hair. So if you busy on Saturday, then you busy. But instead of booking my appointment for 3, book it for 3:30. So
You
when
know,
I come,
but we assume this is what I've learned with my stylist. It goes back to training. So this is such a good conversation because I've watched my team in the salon and I realized they don't understand the order of flow, right? There is an order of flow in the salon. It's not first in, first out. Clients think it's first in and first out, but it's not. So for instance, if somebody is coming in at 9 o'clock for, let's say, a shampoo in a semi-permanent color, any chemical service to manage expectation of time is 3 hours, right? 3 hours for any chemical service. So if you come in at 9 o'clock, always expect to get out by 12. But if the person at 9:30 comes in for a shampoo and blow dry, she should be out when? At least an hour and a half to 2 hours on a Saturday. So just because you came in at 9 doesn't mean that you're going to be the first person out the chair. No, the first person out of the chair is the person that came in at 9:30 because the time span of the services she's getting causes her order of flow to be
makes
able to leave
sense.
out the salon first. So what I realize is that a lot of stylists just need to be trained. I've watched my stylists in my salon and majority of them that have come to me to work, I had to teach them the order of flow. I had to teach them to watch the clock. Like when you start doing this color, stop talking. A lot of times we're slowed down by having all this conversation. I would do like this. When my stylist see me doing this, like, stop talking. Stop talking. And let's get the curling. Let's get the twisting. Let's get the stop talking. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
so that is a lot of the reasons what's going on. But we have to understand that it is a business and there is an order of flow. And a lot of stylists don't know that. So as we begin to teach that, as we begin to have these conversations, as our listeners begin to understand, like, oh, I didn't know it was an order flow. No, you came in at 9 o'clock, expect to get out at 12, right? And one of the things I said I was going to do at our salon is that I'm going to send out an email to let the clients have an expectation of what time to get out. If you come in, and we do have clients still wearing relaxers, y'all. If you come in and you're getting a relaxer and you're getting a color and a cut, it's 4 hours. You got a double chemical. You're not going to get you're not going to get out in 2 hours. It's not going to happen. So I think the biggest thing to do is what we have to do is manage our expectations, right? And so, as you said, there has to be some type of movement. I am in agreement with that, at least within 15 minutes. But again, I would say this as we move on with our conversation, that when you go to the doctor's office, sometimes you sit up in that waiting room, baby, they'll move you in. You'll sit there for 30 minutes. They'll move you into the room. Then you get in there, take your clothes off and have your robe on. You'll sit in there for a whole nother 30 minutes. Again, because just like the doctor's office, the salon is like a doctor's office with hair. When a client sits in a chair, you don't know what's going on. We have clients that sit in the chair who've gone through divorces, whose children have committed suicide. You know, literally, we walk around, when we do our arms like this in our salon, that means like, just take a knife and cut me, right? Just cut me, because we're dealing with emotional problems as well.
I never thought about, you probably deal with mothers sitting in a chair or whatever, people on the way to the funeral. I didn't even think about the situations that you're doing people's hair for.
Literally, I heard that this year that the most state board of cosmetology is going to add to the curriculum of the school programs a psychological part of the program, because we are psychologists. So the reason why sometimes people are waiting, it's not necessarily because we're slow. It's because I can't rush a client. I'm trying to rush a client out of my chair, but if her mom just died, then I'm trying to listen and trying to do this. And so it just makes a difference. One of the things I tell my staff is that please understand that the service today can either make or break the client when they leave the door. We had an instance, before we move on or come to a close, we had a client who a daughter had brought her mother into the salon, and the mother was on like oxygen, and the mother said she was older, maybe like in her 70s, and she wanted like platinum blonde hair, and her daughter was like, I don't know why mama want all this platinum blonde hair, but Rochelle took the time, right, to give her this platinum blonde hair. Now, was she on schedule for a platinum blonde? No. But when the mother got there, she wanted platinum blonde. So I just told Rochelle to tell the customer behind her that we're just going to do this and we're going to move on. But we let the daughter know that it's going to be a little bit of time. You know, you're going to be here a little bit longer because she wasn't down for a platinum blonde service, but we're going to make sure she get it. 2 months later, guess what? The daughter, when we posted the video on our social media, and it's on there now, the daughter commented at the bottom and saying, I did not know that the reason why my mother wanted platinum blonde hair is because she knew that she was leaving this earth. Thank you guys for making her appointment the best ever. And I came back once she wrote that, and I said, this is why it is important for us, because we don't know if, guess what, if it had been a bad experience that day, then we would have gone down in history that her mother died and she remember coming to our salon having a bad experience. But instead, we gave her a good experience. So I say all that to say that we are sometimes dealing with different things that we don't know. So again, we're going to try to move it on. But I think the biggest thing for a stylist, for those who are stylists who are listening, is that if you have someone coming in to get an additional service that was not previously recorded and you did not allot the time, let that customer know that you will service them, but go ahead and move the flow to the right flow of the next customer so that, you know, we can get them out in time. It's all about managing the expectations of each client.
That is That's an absolutely beautiful, beautiful story. I'm really touched by that. As much as I'm touched, though, it also makes me a little sad because I'm like, I don't think that most of the new age stylists that we're talking about, the quote unquote social media stylists, would ever have the tools to be able to deal with something like that. And I'm glad that you're saying the state board is, considering adding that into it, because going to your salon, your hairstylist is like going to a therapist. And when you
It
think about it,
is.
they're literally working in your head. That's why I don't like anybody with a bad attitude working in my hair, because it's connected to all those things. So that's a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. But can I say this before we end? So
Uh-huh.
let me say
Uh-huh.
this. Also, understand that we are psychologists, but for those stylists who are listening, also know that you're there to listen to them, not your clients to listen to you. So, boom. So, what I tell my team, when you walk in stage left or stage right, that you are an actress or actor. When you hit the stage, your client doesn't need to know what happened last night at your house, what happened with your kids, what happened with your significant other. That is not there. That's not your role at that time. You are no longer wife. You are no longer mother. You are a salon professional providing a service. So you listen to them, but you keep your mouth closed.
Amen to that. Cause yeah.
Amen.
Well, in this segment, guys, we go from the hairnet to the internet. Let's see what this clip has to show us. You shared this clip with me, actually, Deshaun. It's actually not a clip, I'm calling it a clip, but it's actually a posting. That's really kind of just puts in perspective about how our stylists these days have us by the edges. Check it out.
Man.
This is the customer saying, "Hi, I'm here. What's the name of your shop and where do I park?" And what I'm saying, that's already kind of a red flag to kind of what you said about in previous episodes about have you visited the shop before and stuff like that, that'll eliminate drama. So,
Right.
she's like, "What's the name of your shop?" And so, anyway, the stylist responds, "Good afternoon, outside, hun. And wait, you will be needing a receipt to get inside because I got a lot of appointments today.
Unbelievable.
I would like you to send the total now so I can attach the receipt and confirmation, forward it to you ASAP. All my clients does this. God forgive me, but I can tell by this woman's grammar that anyway, ASAP, all my clients does this. Now we don't take cash due to security reasons. And I have a lot of appointments today, and everyone's sending their full payment to be on a safe side. I will include, along with the full receipt, I'm going to send to you now to your cell number and or hope you understand. And the customer responds, "I'm sorry, but I don't send full payment without being serviced.
That's
That's
right.
something you should have let me know before the appointment was booked. I set an appointment with you for 12, so I'm not understanding what you having a lot of appointments today means for me."
Mm. Well, amen. So amen. So I mean, it's really nothing to say with that. It's just again, um, make sure that you know before you pay a deposit anywhere. This is the first thing we need to do. Make sure that the salon, the stylist, the independent stylist, if they have a website, if they have payment of services, just like any other deposit you would make sure it's done with a credit card so that you can reverse the charges if there's a problem. Anybody who asks for just cash and no credit card, be weary of those. Those days are over. Like when you walk in a salon and they have the sign up saying, "In God we trust, all others pay cash." Those days are over because people pay with cards. You have restaurants who don't even accept cash anymore. So just be wary of those things. And I think if we all have an understanding of how to do business in 2024, I think it can make our salon experience, if we choose to go to a salon or to an independent stylist, it can manage the expectations to make the visit a little bit more pleasing.
Well, amen to that.
Amen to that. Well, guys, thank you for joining us here at Main Talk. As usual, make sure that you go back and listen to previous episodes. Make sure you join us on the next episode. We love all of the conversations that we have here. Make sure you drop us your comments below on how you feel about this episode, or maybe what do you want us to talk about, right, Ashley? What is the next thing?
Yeah, I think we got a lot of stuff to talk about, but I'm sure y'all can add so much to this conversation. So we will drop below the email and also where you can hit us up on social media. Please, please, your feedback is so important. Tell us. We want more stories, more so that we can feature yours on Main
Exactly.
Talk.
Or feature you. So
Or feature you, absolutely. Yes.
Exactly. And Ashley, thank you. A special thanks to my producer and co-host Ashley Shante. Thank you for joining me again this episode. And just remember this, guys, it doesn't matter how you choose to wear your hair. Just make sure you can hold your head up high enough to wear your crown. We'll see you guys on the next episode of Main Talk. Until then, have a healthy hair day. Main Talk. Let's talk about hair. It's not your average conversation.